back. So we're discussing bridging science and spirit. And, science is so much. And I, as a medical scientist, a doctor, had to select the major concepts of Tiller's physics and draw out his concept to build a bridge. I was an engineer. I had to select the bricks of ideas that would connect into a bridge that was solid enough and that would stand the test of time into spirit. Okay. And so the 7 pillars, the first pillar of bridging science and spirit really looks at how did we arrive to science as we know it now? And there's a big sort of, you might say, leap in eons from Copernicus, who is the father of the solar system, how we understand the cosmos to revolve, and how we came to the scientific method, which is Descartes. How does these two luminaries inform the scientific path today? And my very first meeting with WilliamATiller was, hey, we really need to communicate your ideas that span spirituality and scientific excellence in a way that's meaningful to the ordinary person. And he said, well, that's your job. You do it. You do it. And I remember sitting back in my chair thinking, oh my goodness, how do you bring this science and spirit together properly, meaningfully? And so the first pillar dips into Copernicus and Descartes. And it's really important to go there in a very fun, light way, and it gives you a context. Oh, so this is how Copernicus, he was the father, you might say, of the solar system, of the planets. He calculated the mathematics and made sense of it. But here's the thing. Copernicus was actually Catholic. He was a bishop in Krakow, Poland. And he was actually quite worried about his ideas because at that time, the church says the earth was the center of the universe, not the sun, not the sun. And Copernicus feared for his life, and he's hid his data in a manuscript away in his rooms in the cathedral until a German student came and implored him to teach him what his data showed, and came the solar system as we know it. His book and his work was published finally. The printing press had been invented in the 1500s. And so we have this whole new idea of Copernicus that could have vanished, for many more hundreds of years. So that's pillar number 1. Remember, there was no bridge from science, as we understand it today, and spiritual excellence. Somebody like an avatar of Buddha height. There was no bridge connecting these two major influences. And in Buddha's place, you can put Master Jesus or Bhagavan Krishna of Hinduism. Those avatars have similarities. There's a truth in all of them. The thread runs right through. But there was no bridge connecting scientific excellence and spiritual excellence. So this is where bridging science and spirit really comes into focus. And I had 7 pillars that join these two areas of knowledge. As an engineer, there was nothing before, and now there is something. Bridging science and spirit gives you the 7 pillars that connects those two major areas. Initially, in pillar 1 of bridging science and spirit, it may seem to have nothing to do with spiritual excellence and consciousness. Well, this pillar 1 centers on truth and revolutions. My aim was to give you a grasp of scientific history, of the modern scientific path, and a perspective on some of the most pressing issues in modern medicine, which is really my area as a medical doctor. So, Pillar 1 brings you to not only Copernicus and Descartes, but also on the idea of subtle energies. And what are subtle energies? These are the energies that animate the human body. In medicine, we do not even talk about subtle energies. I can tell you in my medical education, there was not a single lecture, or not a single test question, not a single textbook around energy. This is a huge gap, folks. So when you go to your doctor, they're not going to know these things. It's not their fault. Their education is all centered on biochemical principles. To them, they analyze your blood, they analyze blood tests and gather numbers because to them, the material body is everything and it starts and ends there. But unless you know subtle energies, there's a big gap to be bridged over. So I hope that you who are seeing these videos will begin to take charge of this information and begin to research on your own. And I will give you some tips along the way of how to do that. So that's pillar 1. Subtle energies concludes pillar 1, and that's awesome. And it's very important. Subtle energies, I just want to mention, are not electromagnetic. Okay, they're not electric. They're not like electricity. There's been a lot of work recently about subtle energies being, the word energy seems to be so familiar. So we talk about subtle energies as being electromagnetic. Well, it's only partly correct. And I just want to say that subtle energies are actually magnetic. They're magnetic. Magnets are closer to reality and the truth than just to say they're electromagnetic. Electromagnetic means they're like light. The light here and the way you're watching me now is electromagnetic light.